Most people think Hollywood just makes stuff up. You know, ghosts, serial killers, con artists. Just movie magic, right? But here's the thing, some of the craziest movies ever made were actually based on real events. And I'm not talking about, inspired by true story, kind of loose stuff. I mean real people. Real crimes. Real horror. These are 10 Hollywood movies that were based on true stories, and you won't believe they actually happened. At number 10, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Most people assume this is just some messed up slasher fiction. But it was actually inspired by a real guy, named Ed Gein. He didn't use a chainsaw, but what he did was way worse. He dug up graves, wore human skin, and made furniture out of body parts. The movie took creative liberty, sure. But the horror? That part was disturbingly real. Number 9 is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Yeah, it's one of those chilling possession films. But what most people don't know is, it's based on a real case. Back in the 1970s, a German girl named Anneliese Michel went through 67 exorcisms. She suffered from seizures and intense visions, and eventually died of starvation. The case went to court. And 2 priests were actually convicted of negligent homicide. The movie may be dramatic, but the story behind it? Absolutely real, and horrifying. At number 8, Catch Me If You Can. This one almost feels too slick to be true. A teenage guy fakes being a pilot, a doctor, and even a lawyer. But yeah, it's all real. Frank Abagnale Jr. started forging checks at just 16. By 19, he had traveled the world, scammed airlines, hospitals, and even the FBI. He was eventually caught, but here's the wild part. He ended up working for the FBI later on. The movie actually downplays some of his tricks. The real story is even crazier. Number 7, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger might feel like total fiction. But the idea behind him came from a real-life mystery. Back in the 1980s, dozens of young men, mostly refugees from Southeast Asia, started dying in their sleep. They had no health problems. No warning. Some even told their families, if I sleep, I might not wake up. Doctors were baffled. It was later called sudden unexpected nocturnal death syndrome. Wes Craven read about it in the papers. And that's how Freddy was born. Number 6, The Conjuring. Most people think it's just a scary movie with jump scares. But it's actually based on a real family, the parents, and a real haunting. In the 1970s, they moved into a farmhouse in Rhode Island. And almost immediately, things started happening. Voices. Bruises. Possessions. They called paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren to help. The Warrens documented everything, and years later, that turned into one of the most terrifying horror franchises ever. The Perron family. They still stand by their story to this day. Number 5, Open Water. It's the kind of story that stays with you. A couple goes scuba diving, and gets left behind in the middle of the ocean. Sounds like a terrifying movie plot, right? But it really happened. In 1998, Tom and Eileen Lonergan were accidentally left behind by a tour group on the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. By the time anyone noticed, it was too late. Their bodies were never found, only their diving gear. The movie changed some details, but the core story? Completely real, and completely horrifying. At number 4, The Hills Have Eyes, 2006. Orange Circle based on true stories of isolated cannibal tribes and U.S. desert testing zones. 2&E visuals Me Daikaya, abandoned RV in desert. Mutant/human-like creature in rocks. Family in survival mode. Lonely desert roads. Perfect match. Number 3, Zodiac. This one doesn't just feel real, it is real. The Zodiac Killer terrorized Northern California in the late 1960s and 70s. He sent letters and cryptic codes to newspapers, taunting police. He claimed responsibility for multiple murders, and some were confirmed. The movie follows the investigation exactly as it happened. Reporters, detectives, and even cartoonists got obsessed with trying to crack the case. And the craziest part? The Zodiac was never caught. To this day, nobody knows who he really was. Number 2, The Silence of the Lambs. Hannibal Lecter is one of the most terrifying movie villains ever. But what's even scarier is that he wasn't entirely fictional. His character was inspired by real serial killers, including Ed Gein, who wore human skin, Gary Heidnik, who kept victims in a basement pit, and Ted Bundy, who used charm to lure women. Buffalo Bill, the killer in the movie, was actually a combination of all of them. So yeah, the story might be fiction, but the evil behind it? All too real. And at number 1, Schindler's List. This isn't just a movie. It's one of the most powerful true stories ever told on screen. Oskar Schindler was a German businessman during World War II. He started off profiting from war contracts, but ended up risking everything to save over 1,200 Jewish lives from the Holocaust. He used his factory as a cover, bribing officials, falsifying documents, and protecting families. After the war, he had nothing. But those he saved? They called themselves Schindler Jews, and generations of them are alive today. The movie follows his real journey almost exactly. It's not just based on a true story. It is one. Some of these stories sound like fiction, but they're real, and honestly, that's what makes them so powerful. Which one shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments, I read all of them. And if you want a part 2, there are plenty more movies based on real events that'll blow your mind. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to The Hidden Truth, and hit that bell so you don't miss what's coming next.